Good afternoon, everyone. So we have with us two players, Anushka and Jafar, and with them, I will be playing the role of other characters and record the play Mrichchhakatika by Shudraka, the last act of the play, Act 10 of Mrichchhakatikas of Shudraka's Mrichchhakatika. The scene starts with the same location where the convict is to be executed. Charudatta is to be brought for execution. And we find that this is an open field, the field of execution. Charudatta enters, accompanied by two Chandalas. The first Chandala says,
What is there to consider or to be afraid of? Inquire not the reason. We are clever we are clever in new models of killing and fettering. We are expert in chopping off the heads and in impaling a short time. Make way, gentlemen, make way. This is the worthy Charudatta. He is garlanded with flowers and fragrant
Oleander
who are
and he is in the custody of us two. So there is a description of Charudatta by Chandala. Chandala says that he is garlanded with flowers of fragrant oleander, and he is in the custody of us, who are his executioners. He continues.
his lustre fades gently little by little, like a lamp the oil of which is exhausted.
So Charudatta comes on the stage and mournfully Charudatta says,
My body is drenched with drops of tears. It is covered with flowers of the graveyard and coated with red sandal, and my limbs are soiled with dust. These crows cawing harshly and discordantly are anxious to eat up this body of mine as if it were an oblated offering left unto them.
Go out of the
the
way,
first Chandala
gentlemen, go out of the way. Why do you gaze on this goodly tree to be cut asunder by the fall of the cruel axe? This goodly tree in the form of the noble and virtuous Charudatta, the peaceful resort for birds in the form of good persons. Come, Charudatta, come.
Charudatta says that inscrutable are the ways, vicissitudes of human destiny. Charudatta is so obsessed with his destiny, he is going to be executed. So Charudatta says, so inscrutable are the ways. Charudatta says, vicissitudes of human destiny in as much as I am converted into a beast offering. And then observing in front of him, and he says, alas for the judgment of men. And then mournfully, Charudatta says, seeing what has befallen me, these citizens shed tears profusely and curse being born a man and being unable to save me. They bless me with the words, may you attain Swarga. Chandala says,
Get away, gentlemen, get away. Why do you see this? Indra poles being carried off, the delivery of a cow, the falling down of the stars, the slaying of a good man. All these four things are never to be observed by people.
Chandala says,
I look, I look, Ahinta, look, man. If the best of the citizens is to be put to death at the behest of fate, do the heavens weep, or does the thunderbolt fall when there is no cloud?
The second Chandala, who is accompanying Chandala 1, says, Koha, Koha, the heavens do not weep, nor does the thunderbolt fall when there is no cloud, but torrents of water fall from clouds of crowded women in the form of gushing tears. And again, while the poor victim is being led to the execution ground, each and everyone weeps so much that the dust in the streets, being wet with tears, does not rise at all. Charudatta, observing with dejection, says,
These women who stay in their mansions with their faces emerging through half shut windows lament for me, alas for Charudatta, and they shed profusely floods of tears as if through a conduit.
Chandala says,
Come, come, Charudatta, come. Here is the place of proclamation. Beat the drum and proclaim the sentence. Listen, gentlemen, listen. This person is the grandson of the merchant Vinay Datta and the son of Sagar Datta, and he goes by the name of worthy Charudatta. This culprit, for the sake of a mere trifling thing as gold, enticed the courtesan Vasant Sena into the lonely garden Pushpakaranda and had her murdered there by forcibly strangling her. He was caught with the stolen property and he himself confessed his guilt. We have been therefore ordered by King Palaka to execute him, and if any other commit such a crime objectionable in this world and in the next, then he will be condemned by King Palaka with a like punishment.
Chandala is despondent, and despondently he says to himself,
My lineage, sanctified by the performance of hundreds of sacrifices, was in my former days highly glorified in sacrificial assemblies by the chantings of Brahmanas at the sacred altar. But now, when I am about to be put to death, such a lineage is publicly announced by sinful men of completely different type at the place where the penal sentence is proclaimed.
so Charudatta is trembling. He trembles and stops his ears, cries out.
Vasantasena, oh my beloved, your teeth were radiant like the white and resplendent rays of the moon, and your lower lips resembled the red and beautiful coral. How shall I, helpless as I am, drink the venom of ill fame after having quaffed the ambrosia from thy mouth?
Make way, gentlemen, make way. This treasure of gems constituted by virtues, this bridge where the good men cross their miseries, this ornament not of gold of the city is being removed today out of it. And again, in this world, each and every one feels for only those who are already happily situated in life, but it is hard to get a single individual who will do good to to the distressed and the miserable.
Chandala, looking about in all the directions, Chandala says,
These friends of mine move at a great distance from me with their faces covered with the hem of their garments. Even a stranger becomes a friend of the well to do, while none is a friend of him who finds himself in adverse circumstances.
Charudatta says, the way is made and the high road is cleared, leads on the condemned criminal. Charudatta is in a state of distress. He deeply sighs and repeats as he has already said above, and then calls out, Oh Maitreya, oh Maitreya. We can hear behind the scenes the voice of others. Among them, the voice of Rohasena. We can hear, Ah, my papa, ah, my friend. Charudatta is listening mournfully, and Charudatta says,
Oh, you are the best of your own caste, and I desired to beg a favor at your hands.
The headsman who is there, the headsman says, why do you beg a favor at our hands? And then Charudatta says, replies,
Heaven forbid, a Chandala is not so wanton and careless as Palaka, nor is he a man of bad conduct like Palaka. I beg to see the face of my son in order that I may be happy in the other world.
Let it be done so.
a voice behind the scenes. Again, we hear the same voice as Chandala says, let it be done so. We hear the voice of the child, ah, papa, ah, father. Charudatta hears the words and mournfully repeats the request. The headman says, Citizen, citizen, make way for a moment. Let this noble Charudatta have a look at his son's face. Then he turns his back to the stage and then says, Sir, come this way, come boy, come. Then enter Maitreya with the little boy. And Maitreya, who is there on the scene, says, make haste, my dear boy,
My
make
dear boy,
haste.
make haste. Your father is being led to be put to death.
My papa, oh, my papa.
Ah, my dear friend, where must I behold you?
Charudatta, seeing his son and his friend, Charudatta says,
Ah, my son, Maitreya, alas, I shall in the other world suffer long from thirst, for his libation of water at my funeral rites is too insufficient for me. What shall I give my son?
so he looks at himself and looks at the sacred thread also. Yes, and continues.
Yes, this at least is mine, though unadorned with pearls or with gold. It is nevertheless the ornament of the Brahmans, and it is through
Talks about this, it is through this that oblations or libations are offered to the gods or to the mates. And then we find Charudatta giving the sacred thread. Chandala one says, the main Chandala who was there, Chandala one, he says, he asks Charudatta to come, come Charudatta, come. The second Chandala who is there also on the stage says, why do you call the noble Charudatta without some word of respect attached to his name? For see in prosperity or in adversity, by the night or the day, the invulnerable fate holds his own course like an unrestrained young mare. And again, titles are empty things. What has it done that we should not bow our heads before him? Although Rahu may seize the moon, is he not adored by men? Rohasena, the child, he says, you Chandalas, where do you leave my father? Chandala says. Charudatta is there. Charudatta says,
wearing a garland of oleander round my neck, carrying gibbet on the shoulder and grief in the heart. I follow this now to the place of execution, like a he goat that is led to the place of immolation to be slaughtered in the sacrifice.
Chandala 1, realizing this, says, he is very mournful, and therefore he is talking to the boy. My boy, we are not really Chandalas, even though born of the Chandala race. Those sinful men who dishonor and disgrace the virtuous, they are alone are Chandalas. Why? Then why do you kill my father? Chandala one says, oh, long lived one, it is the order of the king that is to blame and not we. Slay me, but let me go to my father. Chandala one says, oh, long lived one, may you who speak thus live long. Charudatta, embracing his son with tears in his eyes, says,
Alike to the rich and the poor. This is the all in all of affection, and it soothes and calms the heart, though consisting neither of sandal nor of asra.
he repeats again, the same wearing around the neck, etc. Looks about, and then he talks to himself. He repeats again, and these friends of mine, etc., etc. And then Maitri comes on the scene, and Maitri says,
My good men, let my dear friend Charudatta go free, but slay me instead.
so Charudatta is there, says, Charudatta says,
Heaven forbid.
so looking about, he speaks to himself,
Now I understand.
and then he repeats the same words that he spoke just early aloud. The headsman is there. Headsman one, he's shouting, go away, gentlemen, go away. Why do you gaze on this good person in whom all hopes of life are lost through a mere dirty scandal, and who resembles a golden pitcher sinking into a well, the rope being snapped? Charudatta is very mournful, and he repeats the same verse earlier about his impending death. And the herdsman too is there. Herdsman too also says, hey, proclaim the sentence again. So the headsman, he proclaims the sentence again, repeats the same sentence again, and Charudatta says,
Because of adversity, I have already become reduced to this wretched and despicable condition, the fruit whereof is the end of my life. This proclamation gives my mind intense pain that I have to hear it proclaimed that such a one as she has been murdered by me.
there we find the entry of Satavaraka, fettered in the palace tower. And Satavaraka, listening to the proclamation with sorrow, says, Satavaraka is that same servant who was caught by his master and kept imprisonment. And now he has come out, escaped from the palace tower. And Stavaraka, he says,
So may
What?
I read this part?
Yes,
yes,
yes.
What? The innocent Charudatta being put to death? I have been chained by my master. Hell, I shall cry aloud. Listen, gentlemen, listen. I, sinner that I am, that led Vasant Sena to the old garden Pushpakaranda, because she mistook my chariot for another. And then my master, seeing that she would not love him, strangled forcibly this woman and murdered her. And it is not the worthy gentleman that did it. What? They are so far away that no one hears me. What shall I do then? Shall I cast myself down? If I do so, then the noble Charudatta will not be put to death. Well, I shall throw myself down from the palace tower through this dilapidated window. Better than I should die, but not the noble Charudatta, the tree wherein noble born youths dwells. If I die thus, I have attained heavens.
he throws himself down, jumps out of the window, and
No
says,
Chandalas, make way, make way.
so the headsman is there who says, man, who seeks way? So Satavarka repeats the same thing again, confessing to everyone. And then Charudatta says,
Who is it that comes at this hour? While I am caught amidst the snare of Yama like the Drona clouds when the crops are parched by drought. Listen, do you hear what I say? I am not afraid of death, but my soiled same affects me very much. My death, without my good name being affected, would be equal in my eyes to the birth of a son. And again, by that mean blockhead whom I never hated and who is base and corrupted, I have been ruined as if by an envenomed arrow.
so the headman, he is there. Satyavaraka, are you telling the truth? A servant comes. Quite true. In order to keep me from telling anybody, I was thrown into chains and imprisoned in the towers of his place. So Satyavaraka, who has come on the stage, he says this. And now Sakara has entered the stage. And in great joy, Sakara says, I had my dinner in my own place, and I ate rice with meat, acid sauce, vegetable soup, and fish, boiled rice, and rice boiled with coarse sugar. So he keeps listening. Ah, the horseman's voice, the sound like a broken brass cymbal. I hear the music of the fatal drum and the kettle drums, and so I infer that the pitiable poor Charles Datta is led to the place of execution. Ah, I shall behold it. Really, really, the destruction of a foe is the greatest delight to my heart. Besides, I have heard that a man who sees his enemy being killed will have sore eyes in his next butt, like a worm that had crept into the bulb of lotus stalk. I looked for a hole to get out and brought about the ruin of poor Charudatta. Now I will get up to the tower of my own palace and witness my heroic deed. So he does so and looks about. Wonderful! Ah, what a crowd of people there is! When the poor Charudatta is led to the place of execution, what would it be when a great personage like me is led to death? Huh, look, he is led to the south, adorned like a young bull. But why was the proclamation made near my palace tower? And why was it stopped? Sarkar, see, he looks about and says, Hey, what? My servant, Savarakatu, is not here? May it be that he has run away and betrayed the secret. I shall now look for him. So we find him, Sakara, getting down and approaching the ground. The servant, beholding him, says, there he comes, good gentleman. The headman, he's already there on the scene, says, make room, fasten the door, and remain silent. Here comes a mad bull whose horns are sharp with wickedness. Sakara says, Eh, make way. Stavaraka, my little son, my servant, come, let us go home. You scoundrel! Are you not content with having murdered Vasantasena? And now you make an attempt to murder the noble Charudatta, who is the wish yielding tree to the needy? Eh, I resemble a giant pot, and I kill no woman. The crowd shout out. They shout,
Oh, you alone murdered her and not the noble Charudatta.
Hey, who says that?
This good gentleman.
Merciful, merciful heavens! Why was not the slave Satavarkas chained by me very well? Indeed, he was a witness of my crime. I will do it this way. He utters a lie. Masters, this servant of mine was caught by me while stealing gold, and he was beaten, murdered, and imprisoned by me. He bears, therefore, an enmity before me, and what he says isn't true. So he secretly hands Savaraka a bracelet and whispers in the ears of Satavarka. Satavarka, my little son, servant, take this, and say something different. So we find this uh, servant taking the bribe and saying, um, suddenly he says, "Look, gentlemen, look! He's trying to allure me through gold." Sakara snatches the bracelet from him and he says, "Hey, this is a golden ornament on account of which he was enchained by me. Look here, herdsman. I put him in charge of the gold chest, and when he stole the golden ornament, I murdered him and bit him. If you don't believe him, just look at his back." The herdsman, beholding the back of the man, and says, "He speaks right. The branded servant is really a prattler." The servant says, "Alas, this is the fault of being a servant, that nobody believes him, even though he speaks the truth." "Noble Charutatta, I have no further power." So he falls at the feet of Charudatta. And Charudatta then mournfully says,
Rise up, you my good man, who took compassion on innocent men in adversity, who are come to befriend me without the expectation of any return, and who are of a virtuous disposition. You have made great efforts to liberate me, but fate alone does not cooperate with you. What can you do more?
"Master, beat your servant and banish him away." "Hey, get away, you fellow!" So Sakara drives the headsman away, and headsman, hey, why do you linger? Slay him. Headsman is quite offended. "Kill this man along with his son." So Charudatta says,
This fool is likely to do anything. Go, my son, to your mother.
What should I do if I were to go?"
You should at once resort to some hermitage, taking your mother along with you, lest for the fault of your father you too will be reduced to this condition. And you, my friend,
So Maitri is there on the stage. Maitri says,
Oh friend, is this the opinion you have found of me, that I would hold my breath without you?
Charudatta says, that friend, your life is in your power and it is not proper for you to cast it away. And then Maitri speaks to himself.
It is quite true, but yet I will not be able to live separated from my dear friend. So I shall hand over the little boy to the Brahman lady, his mother, and follow my dear friend even in death. And aloud he says, Friend, I will take this boy away at once.
So he embraces Charudatta, then falls at his feet. Rohasena does the same thing, same weeping, and Sakara says, "Hey, do I not tell you to kill Charudatta along with his son?" Charudatta betrays fear. The headsman says, "The king's order to us are not to the effect that Charudatta is to be killed along with his son. Go away, boy, go, go." So we find people sending the boy away. "Here is the third place of proclamation. Beat the drums." Dang, 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 the drum beat. They proclaim the sentence again. And soon we find Sakara speaking to himself.
What? These citizens do not believe it. Aloud, you fellow Charudatta, these citizens do not believe it. Say it with your own tongue. I murdered Vasansena.
So we have Sakara again saying, Charudatta remains silent throughout. And Sakara says, "Hey, Chandra fellow, This fellow of Charudatta won't speak. Just make him speak. So beating him with his old bamboo stick with a chain. The herdsman, raising the stick, says, "Oh, Charudatta, speak!" Charudatta mournfully.
Fallen as I am in this vast ocean of sorrows, I have neither fear nor any mental affliction, but the fire of public censure does alone pain me to the quick when I have to declare that I destroyed my beloved.
Sakara does similarly again, and Charudatta says, so he repeats the same thing again and again. Oh, citizens, he appeals to the citizens. And Sakara says, "Killed her?" Charudatta says, "So it be." Chandala one comes and says, "Hey, it is your turn to kill him." Chandala 2 also says, "No, yours." Chandala 1, so he drawing lines in various way, he says, "Well, let us recon out. Well, if it is my turn to kill him, then stay just a little bit while." The second Chandala also says, "What for?" Chandala 1 says that when my father was going to heaven, he told me, "Son Viraka, it is your turn to kill him. Don't kill the victim too quickly." Chandala 2 also says, "Hey, what for?" Chandala 1 says, "Perhaps some good man may give money and liberate the criminal." And Chandala 1 continues, saying, "Perhaps a son may be born to the king, to the celebrations of which festive occasion all the criminals may be liberated."